What's going on, everybody? My name is C4. Welcome back to the channel. And the NFL Draft is live tonight, and so are we. Gonna be here on the YouTubes for our full first round of 2024 NFL Draft live reactions, where we hang out the entirety of the draft. We're gonna have our vitamins. We're gonna have some good times, some laughs. Hopefully the Eagles don't do anything stupid. I don't have any memeable moments this year. Howie's been on a good run right there, and it seems like right now a lot of the buzz is the Eagles aggressively trying to trade up, and water's also wet. But we're going to have a fun time here on YouTube for our annual live stream reaction to the 2024 NFL Draft. So come on, check it out. Let's hang out. It's going to be a great time. So we're at the point in time right now in the mock draft season where it's not fun, because now you have all the insiders dropping their tidbits. Now you have everyone that's kind of weighing the Vegas odds for draft picks. So today's video, I am going to give out my final mock draft. This is kind of predicting what I think will happen. But after that, I am going to throw out my final Philadelphia Eagles mock draft. So all kind of pre-draft stuff in one video. And I think we'll have a little bit more fun with the Eagles mock draft, because that's going to allow me to be a little bit more creative and unique and target some of my favorite players at various rounds. So looking at this mock draft, we do have trades. Nothing too crazy. We'll kind of go maybe in blocks of 5 here for the top 5 pick. The only thing that might be spicy of this would be, I mean, personally, I have Drake May firmly as my quarterback 2 in this year's draft class. Seems like the Commanders going Jaden Daniels. As a Drake May believer, I'd love Drake May not coming to the NFC East. I would much rather deal with Jaden Daniels. And that's not a shot at Jaden Daniels. I think he is hell of a quarterback prospect. But I think May has a little bit higher ceiling. Jaden Daniels is going to be annoying too, especially if he is kind of RG3 reincarnated. See a lot of similarities there. But maybe my only hot pick here in the top 5 is the Patriots not trading back. I do think the Patriots are more than a quarterback away, and if they could somehow pry those 2 first-round picks from the Minnesota Vikings, well, I think it's going to be very aggressive. Or you could see the Giants, maybe surprisingly, want to be aggressive for a quarterback, or the Broncos, or the Raiders. You can get a ransom, I would do it. But if not, you know, it's one of those, like, what are you going to do? You got to just maybe next year we'll get a quarterback. There's no quarterback in college football right now, especially next year's draft class that looks very weak. And hell, even 2 years time from now, it doesn't look like there's that Andrew Luck, Trevor Lawrence stud sitting there in college. Get yourself Drake May now and figure out the rest later. Seems like the Chargers at 5. J.C. Latham's the hot name. But for my money, Joe Alt is easily the top tackle in this year's draft class. So I have the Chargers going him. We got Neighbors, next block of 5 to the Giants. Latham to the Titans at 7. Titans just pivot and get the top tackle in the draft remaining. In terms especially of pro readiness, I think you can plug and play Latham at left tackle and kind of make up for the Andre Dillard botch signing. We have our first trade, and there's no way the Vikings got 2 first-round picks without trying to trade up and be aggressive. So I have them trading with the Atlanta Falcons. From 8, the Falcons go back to 11. I assume you'd get maybe a second-round pick next year, this year, something like that. You can figure out that compensation yourself. And I have the Vikings getting J.J. McCarthy, who I admit and I can acknowledge the ceiling of J.J. McCarthy. And I think if you are drafting someone like J.J. McCarthy, you need the pieces in place that are going to make life easy on him. And you can make the argument that the Vikings pretty ready to go. Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, T.J. Hawkinson, some good guys on the offensive line. It's a good environment. There's definitely a lot worse landing situations for J.J. McCarthy. I would still just say, depending on the compensation, is J.J. McCarthy really worth trading up for at that quarterback spot? Probably not. But you are in a spot with the Vikings that you do not want to continue just to waste away the prime of Justin Jefferson. So it's getting J.J. McCarthy. The answer to that, I think they're at least going to try and find out. We got a Dunze going to the Bears at 9, landing a Dunze and Caleb Williams to pair that with Keenan Allen, Cole Kmet, DJ Moore. Whew. DeAndre Swift in the backfield. Bears are going to be pretty damn good next year. I would love to see them stay in these spots and get like premier players. Brock Bowers to the Jets makes a lot of sense right now, especially for how they handled free agency. That would be a gigantic target and get for Aaron Rodgers and the offense. Next block, we had the Falcons trade down, and I think they get the guy they would have targeted anyways at that spot in Dallas Turner. Broncos are an interesting one. I've seen a lot of these insider mocks have them go like Bo Nix or Michael Penix or trade up for a quarterback. I think that if you're at that spot right now, you just kind of go BPA. And it looks like Jared Verse, for my money, would be BPA. I believe they brought him in for a visit. They've showed interest in the edge rushers. Latu's a popular name, but he has had to medically retire due to a neck injury. I think that's going to be one of those things. I think Latu could potentially be one of those players that falls down a little bit, even though he's pro ready, even though he has the highest floor out of maybe any defensive player in this class. you also got to question the ceiling there a little bit. So we have Jared Verse going to the Broncos. Michael Penix going to the Raiders. Now, Michael Penix is my fourth quarterback. I have him ahead. Right now, my QBs go Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, and honestly, it's close, but I would go Michael Penix, then McCarthy. I like Michael Penix, tested well at his pro day, showing there's some dual threat athleticism. I don't know. It's still, don't get me twisted, I do not have him as a lock to be a top 15 player on my big board. He's like, if this was Madden, he'd be a round 1-2 grade for me. I wouldn't be shocked if someone like him fell to the second round a little bit. However, I think the Raiders are desperate for a quarterback, and I do like Michael Penix, and I think he'd be a very interesting fit. 14, we have the New Orleans Saints getting a tackle. Got to get some certainty there with Ryan Ramczyk. No one knows really what's going on. The Philadelphia Eagles at 15, reportedly aggressive in trading out, so I have them trading with the Colts, and it looks like it'll be a situation where Philly trades like a first. I think they would be aggressive using, we have 2 second-round picks, so they'll be using one of those second-round picks. I think from the Colts, you'd get like a 1 and a 3. Philly gives up a 1 and a 2, and then probably something else conditionally going on. And I think the Eagles go and get the top corner in this year's draft. I hate that I don't get a consensus, because I like Terry Arnold, I like Quinion Mitchell, I like Cooper DeJean, but I would say if I was ranking them, I would have Arnold slightly higher. And he has the Alabama pedigree that the Philadelphia Eagles would absolutely love. Next block of 5, I have the Cardinals being aggressive and trading up. I think they are definitely one of the teams that would have fallen in love with Latu. They did their homework. They brought him in for visits, and they're going to see a premier pass rusher slipping down the board a little bit. So I have, for our final trade of this mock, the Arizona Cardinals trading within the division, moving up from 27, coming up the way to 16. Seattle, I think they're very much always a team that looks like trading back. So it kind of makes sense, even though it is within the division. And the Cardinals, for Mr. Gannon, defensive-minded head coach, they go and get him a pass rusher. 17, Jags. A lot of needs across the board, but we have to get Quinion Mitchell, who should be a day one starter for them at corner. Fuaga going to the Bengals. Tackle pick. Protect Joe Burrow. Every year we say the same thing. The Rams to go Fautano. I think multiple spots he could play on the offensive line, so that's just a lot of bang for your buck for the Rams. Finally having a first-round pick. Pick 20, we have the Steelers going Brian Thomas Jr., probably got the best wide receiver available. Had a little bit of trouble at 21 with the Miami Dolphins. Thought there was a lot of different areas they could go, but we kind of went BPA as they need to replenish that defensive line. 22, the Colts, after trading back, go out and get, let's have fun with this one a little bit. Seems like a lot more steam right now lately in Xavier Worthy going in the first round. And how fun would that be? Xavier Worthy, Josh Downs, Pittman, healthy Anthony Richardson, Jonathan Taylor. Whoo. The Madden cheese alone is worth that. Having Anthony Richardson just throw it 97 yards to Xavier Worthy to catch it on the other end. That would be really fun. Vikings with their second first-round pick, improve the interior of their D-line, and get Johnny Newton out of Illinois. I have the Dallas Cowboys at 24 going offensive line, getting a versatile lineman that can play multiple positions. Graham Barton, just play tackle, can play center as well. And we got Cooper DeJean going to the Green Bay Packers, and I think they might so pivot towards a safety. And I think that is out of almost all these picks in this window, I think Cooper DeJean to the Packers makes the most sense. We have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going Chop Robinson, getting younger in their pass rush. I went corner, maybe surprisingly, with the Seahawks. I think it was more the board that's available, but Legion of Boom, length, outside, height, weight, speed. It seems like whatever reason they hate Tariq Woolen, so maybe there's some uncertainty to that corner room. Definitely retooling the secondary under the new coach there. So I think Nate Wiggins makes some sense if the Seahawks are retooling their corner room just a little bit. We have the Buffalo Bills go best wide receiver available, which is Adonai Mitchell, height, weight, speed. Again, much like Xavier Worthy and Anthony Richardson, Adonai Mitchell and Josh Allen will be ridiculously fun. We have the Detroit Lions securing their secondary, getting Kool-Aid McKinstry, I think, locked himself into first-round discussion after a very impressive pro day. We got the Ravens going Amarius Mims, high-ceiling offensive tackle, screams a classic Baltimore Ravens developmental pick. 31, the Niners go get Tyler Guyton, developmental tackle. I think you're going to look at him probably to compete sooner than later for that right tackle spot and can be kind of a guy that studies under Trent Williams just a little bit. I think that'd be a great landing spot. And then finally, this is where I cheated a little bit. I was like, who did the Chiefs show interest at wide receiver? And it looks like Xavier Legette. And it seems like he's another guy, much like Xavier Worthy, kind of, securing that first-round status, which, Feels like for the last month, he looked like he was going to the second round. So that would be my fit there for the Chiefs, especially with Rashee Rice suspension looming. Even without Rashee Rice, I think there is a need for the Chiefs to go and get a wide receiver. So that's why we have them grabbing legit. So love to hear what you guys think about my final mock draft here. I think we did all right. Had some fun with some trades. I think most teams will be pretty happy with this one. But now let's get into my 7-round Philadelphia Eagle mock draft. Then we'll be able to wrap this one up, and I'll go get ready for the stream tonight. So I can't mock the Eagles getting a trade in my final mock draft and not actually do it. So what I did is we traded with the Colts again. I gave pick 22 and 50. So our first-round pick and our highest second-round pick. And from the Colts, we got pick 15 and their third-round selection. I think Philly's going to be aggressive with those 2 second-round picks. I think that's roughly what the compensation would take. Who would we trade up for in this situation is the question. And I think a couple candidates, which we're going to talk about. Some of them are actually on the board right now. Others we'll just talk about and make the assumption. One, I think the most crazy scenario I think for Philly that could happen is Brock Bowers. Georgia memes aside, I think you would view Brock Bowers as a big slot wide receiver. Obviously, he also can play tight end. This is very similar to when we drafted Dallas Goedert, when we had Zach Ertz. Same age right now for Goddard. I would make the argument, though, I don't love the idea of trading him for Brock Bowers. But you're probably going to have to, even if he slips past the Jets, for an example. But I do think the fact he didn't work out all offseason, he is slightly undersized for a tight end. I would much more prefer just the wild scenario that Brock Bowers falls to us at 22 and we don't have to give up any additional assets. But I think it is worth talking about there. If they wanted to trade him for a wide receiver, I think the only guy they would is Xavier Worthy, and that would just because Howie Roseman thinks it's Deshaun Jackson again. That would be absurd, but I guess we'd be here for it. It would just be absolutely insane. I think offensive line now, for this scenario, somehow Joe Alt's there. There's no chance Alt's there. Very little chance at 15 Latham would be there. But I think if we're going offensive line at 15, they have to be able to challenge for the right guard spot this year. I do not want to be trading for a tackle that can just only be a tackle groomed to be Lane Johnson's successor. Because what if Lane plays another 3-4 years, right? It was annoying when we did that with Cam Jurgens for Jason Kelsey. But at least Jurgens can play guard for us last year, and he was a second-round pick. Was not a first-round pick, was not a premium investment. So if we do trade up at 15 and we got, say, a Troy Fautano who can play guard and also play tackle, wouldn't love that pick. I don't think I'd love any lineman pick, but at least if they go and try to get a guard that can eventually kind of be a twofer, start guard, and then when Lane moves on, move back to tackle. Fautano, I'd be fine with that. Latham, I guess I'd be fine with that, but I do not want to be trading up or even at 22 drafting a Mims or a Guyton, a guy that is strictly a developmental tackle. So for 15, you also have, pass rushers. There's a chance Latu falls in. Philadelphia brought him in for a top 30 visit, doing the homework on that neck injury. Chop Robinson kind of fits a profile, but I don't think we'd go Chop Robinson a year after taking, Nolan Smith, because very similar developmental pass rushers. You want 2 of those on your roster, 2 guys you need to try to grow and develop. I'd be surprised, but I think maybe at 22, if Chop Robinson falls there, could very much be in play. But I think the move at corner, if they trade up, is going to be Terrion Arnold, which we just did in the mock draft. I would say if we stay at 22, I'd be fine with Cooper DeJean. I would love Cooper DeJean. I'd probably order that jersey right away. I'm here for the memes. That would be awesome. In a year that Howie Roseman bucks the mold of finally paying a running back at Saquon Barkley, how about we finally break the mold of drafting a DB and we go get a white one? That'd be hilarious. I think Kool-Aid McKinstry could make a lot of sense at 22. Dave Wiggins, maybe not the best scheme fit, but I wouldn't hate it. But here in this scenario, in the first round, we're going to be aggressive and going to go get Terrion Arnold coming off 5 picks for the Alabama Crimson Tide. And it fits. It fits the pedigree that Howie Roseman wants to chase for a player. He was a top recruit, played at a high level in the SEC, coming off a breakout type season. I'd love to see it happen. So now we only have 1 second-round pick because of this trade, and I am not looking at moving anywhere out of this one. We're staying right put at 53. Now, I've kind of been going Edger and Cooper here. Philly brought him in for a visit. It seems like the draft community, the insiders, have him closer to a third-round pick than they do a second-round pick. I like the fit for the Eagles. I've become less and less sure that we're going to go linebacker at 53. Looking at the edge rushers, that Nealon guy, I'm going to be honest, not overly impressed. He kind of just has like one power move. I would say Michael Hall would be very interesting to add some depth there, especially if the Eagles don't end up paying Milton Williams. You need someone else that can play that 3-4 defensive end. Michael Hall is 20, 21, one of the younger D linemen in this draft, has his best football ahead of him from Ohio State. You could now look at 53 for that developmental tackle. Patrick Paul still be on the board. I like Roger Rosengarter from Washington. Those would be interesting. I suppose. But again, it's all about where the value is. And the value for me, and this is bias, is at wide receiver. Philly needs a slot wide receiver. Bring it in, Devontae Parker, whatever. We need that third option. We're going to be absolutely unstoppable if we get a slot wide receiver. That's why I think they would consider Brock Bowers, because it'd be very similar to drafting someone like a Troy Fautano. Play guard now, move to tackle. You draft Brock Bowers, put him in the slot, and then whenever time move on from Dallas Goedert or Dallas Goedert gets injured, you put him at tight end. We need that slot weapon. Even though, yes, you got A.J. Brown, you got Devontae Smith. There's only two guys. We saw last year. You need more than that. And adding another weapon for Jalen Hurts, going full-on bias, Ricky Pearsall is my guy. Raz 9'9". Ridiculous catchability. Can play on the outside. Gives us that depth. Gives us the speed that we were looking for in Quez Watkins, but he can actually catch the football. Howie Roseman, a Florida Gator alumni. I think he's going to value him. Now, I will say some of those players, do we need a linebacker more than we need a wide receiver? Probably. Is Howie Roseman going to value the trenches more than he values a wide receiver? Probably. But this is my mock draft, goddammit. And Ricky Pearsall in the slot with Devontae and A.J. Brown on the outside, Dallas Goedert, Saquon Barkley. That is freaking unstoppable. And I will say that if a Devontae Smith and or an A.J. Brown get banged up, get hurt, we do not have lots of depth at wide receiver. So getting someone, you can never have enough weapons. And the fact that Pearsall will be a starter and provide great depth on the outside, he has inside-outside versatility. Sign me up for that all damn day. Now we're on the clock at 82. The board fell pretty good for us. I think I'd have a conversation about Jaden Hicks. However, he's my top safety in this year's draft class. I think he's very similar to what we have in Reed Blankenship, and we extended Reed Blankenship. I think their box safety tackling is a huge strength of their game. So I really don't think Philly's going to value safety. And hey, Justin Simmons is still out there. So I'm not closing the door on that pipe dream. So we got our corner. We got our wide receiver. I don't necessarily think and trust this. Edge is our big need. Looking at the tackles are still available. Rosengarten makes some sense here potentially. But for my money, what I would be looking at is Michael Hall, the D lineman here out of Ohio State. I think I'm more concerned about Philly with how we've restructured everything. I like Milton Williams. I think Milton Williams is set for a breakout. However, Milton Williams is not under contract for much longer. And I think push comes to shove. His agent's going to know that there's a lot of untapped potential, a lot of upside. Let's go somewhere where Milton Williams can be a starter. So I would prepare for life beyond Milton Williams sooner than I would prepare for life beyond Lane Johnson. Be it, do we go D-line, someone that can contribute part of that rotation, which we don't have a lot of depth right now to the rotation. Or we get, so I think the argument can be had, I'd be happy in that spot 82 with a Roger Rosengarten. But I think I would prioritize right now for the ready to compete next year, to go on and win a Super Bowl, add some more depth, add some more competition for those 3-4 defensive end spots. And at 120, now I'm kind of like, the linebackers are starting to dry up a little bit. In an ideal scenario, I'd be targeting at 120. I've seen him be here sometimes in mock drafts, other sites. Trevin Wallace, the linebacker from Kentucky, he would be my value guy. Obviously, Trotter, Edgerrin Cooper, Peyton Wilson. If we ended one of them, I'll be very happy. But I think my value pick at linebacker, I'd be looking in the fourth round. That seems to be around that how he would target a linebacker. Trevin Wallace out of Kentucky is kind of the guy. Looking at who's right now, it's almost like let's just go to Kobe Dean and Devin White as like at least our plug and play starters right now. Maybe we'll grab a linebacker later that can be more of a special teamer. I think the value right now for the Philadelphia Eagles would be getting said guard, and that is Christian Mahogany, the guard out of Boston College. Played a lot of great football there. I think you could also maybe look at Brandon Coleman. Brandon Coleman has some guard tackle versatility. TCU, we've drafted TCU players before. Some solid, like Big V. Others are Jalen Reagor. So I think you could go Coleman there to get maybe more tackle developmental flexibility. But Mahogany's another player that I think is probably a little bit more pro-ready to start at guard, which we want to look for that competition at right guard. Philly has brought him in for a top 30 visit as well. But I think between Mahogany and Brandon Coleman at that 120, if you want to go the O-line, you can't go wrong with either. Coleman, if you want someone that might be able to be a tackle someday or add some depth at that tackle spot. Say if Tyler Steen beats him out, you can use him maybe more as a swing tackle. But for me, I have Mahogany because I think he has more of a chance to start and add to that competition with Steen at right guard. I pick 161. We're going to have a little bit of fun here. Why not? Give me this freak, Isaac Guerendo from Louisville. 230 pounds, and he ran like a 4.3. Now, we're all going to be cautiously optimistic here. We're going to look at our running back room. Saquon Barkley is going to play. He's not going to get hurt. Kenny G can make plays. We paid a lot of money to get Davis Price, former third-round pick, I think, from the Niners. We paid him like the most like guaranteed future contract money. But you know what? None of those backups got you. Imagine like Kenny G. You can use Kenny G as a gadget play receiver at the backfield. You got Saquon. But you know what? None of those guys have right now. Even Saquon's getting old. They don't have 4.3 speed at 230 pounds. So this is when you get those Isaiah Pacheco type players. I think Gredo has potential to be that. And I'd love to get a big-time, legitimate, young, cheap running back with elite athleticism in our backfield. I think would thrive behind our line. It gives us that home run ability insurance in case Saquon struggles to stay healthy like he did and has for the Giants. Next up, I think it is time to kind of see some of these linebackers that are free-falling. Given the board, I think Curtis Jacobs is interesting. Maybe the best athlete of the board. But Eichenberg is like your classic, not a freak athlete, just good player. And you know the last linebacker that we got, that was good football player, not a great athlete. And then and by good football player, I mean like one of the best linebackers in college. But your classic, he's going to be a better college linebacker than probably pros. And how much can you trust him in coverage? Maybe you can put it all together. Use the IQ. He's an IQ player in coverage, not an athlete in coverage. What Eagles linebacker was like that? What was his name? Oh, TJ Edwards. I get TJ Edwards vibes from Eichenberg, who's the heart and soul of that Ohio State defense. And that's great value. Be kind of surprised if he's still there at 171. At 172, this is when you get your developmental guys. And I'm going to go grab Miles Cole. 6'6", 270, ran a 4.67, put up like a 9.7, 9.8 RAS. Purely a developmental option for, hey, you got one of the GOAT defensive coordinators, right? You got yourself a guy that you would like to trust can develop these guys on the defensive side of the ball. Vic Fangio sees a ridiculous profile like Miles Cole. Sees the versatility. Stand him up an edge. The 3-4. Put him down on the line. I think you get a little bit of hybrid versatility there. If it doesn't work out, he doesn't pan out from an athletic standpoint, so be it. It's not a big investment to pick 172, but I think with the athletic potential, I'd buy that stock all day long. With our final pick, we're going for Jordan Mailata 2.0. Giovanni Manu from Canada. Give me the question. Give me just the Stoutland U guy at 210. Manu, big-time athlete, like 6'8", 350. Can move, got great feet. What better way than finishing with a Mailata type pick? So there you go, guys. That is my final NFL mock draft. That is my final Philadelphia Eagles mock draft. Let me know who you want your favorite team to draft in the comment section below. Let me know, Eagles fans, what you think of this mock draft. Who do you want the Eagles to end up getting? And I'll see you guys back here tonight for our live stream. If it is your first time stopping by, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Smash the like button if you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys later tonight. Peace out. Love ya. Have a good one.